My name is Omoyemi Akele. I'm a child of God, wife to Tokunbo Akele, mother to Toluwase and Olaoluwa Yemika Akele. And I also happen to be the founder and executive director of Star House Files and Lagos Fashion Week. My journey's been an interesting one. I cannot tell you that I started out thinking I would be here today, or that I deliberately plotted or, this course. Of course, I'm a lawyer by training, and that's all I wanted to do. My dad's a lawyer, and my dad trained as a lawyer, even though he didn't work as a lawyer. But law was something I always wanted to study and also, pursue as a career. But halfway through it, not halfway, at the very beginning, I realized that there's more to a career, or there's more to your career of choice than just you wanting to do it. So there's got to be, yes, you've trained to do it, you've studied the course, but beyond that, there's got to be a desire to want to do it as well. And when I say desire, I mean that I can't sleep, won't eat, this is all I want to do, and law wasn't that for me. It was important as well that it would be something that I could contribute to, and possibly because there was no real passion, I wasn't able to really think deeply about how I could make an impact in law beyond just being one of the best lawyers I could possibly be. And that didn't just seem so appealing, considering the law firm where I worked at the time had such a high profile, and the managing partner and most of the people around me seemed to enjoy it thoroughly, which I realized I did not. And so it became important to me quite quickly that I explore something that I would enjoy the way they did. Because I could see immediately, being around them, I could see immediately that there was something missing, which was that not just the desire to succeed, because you don't have to enjoy something to succeed at it, but you need to, the enjoyment or the feel-good factor is your little extra that you can give yourself with what you do in life. And it was important to me to find that thing. So that's how I journeyed into fashion, which didn't quite start out as fashion. I started out working as an image consultant, and then was a pioneer in that in Nigeria, and then slowly morphed into being a stylist, because girls got to make money. And then my partner at the time moved into Nigeria. We met each other. Bola Balogun Exclusive Styling started. We did some pretty amazing things and realized that the industry, or the sector, I can't call it industry, the sector wasn't mature enough to sustain people like us. So yes, you could have designers or brands, but for people like us who are people behind the scene, who are catalysts, right? You need to have a semblance of structure, a semblance of a sector for us to survive and thrive. So it was important. So slowly, from being stylist and working on some of the most amazing things, realized there was need to birth a platform that could give designers a voice. And with that came the realization that that's not the solution to all the problems in the industry, or to creating to being part of a sector. And don't get me wrong, there was fashion on the scene before we came. There were people on the scene who'd done different things, amazing things. We just saw things a little bit differently and chose to do it differently, and just be a part of that group of people who desire to contribute in a deeper way to the sector. So that's why today our key areas of focus are on access to market, creating opportunities for access to capacity building, skills development, workshops, trying to focus on how to discover new talent, how to create opportunities to showcase brands, not just from Nigeria, but from different parts of Africa. And that's where we are. And increasingly, of course, we realize that to be able to do that, it's important to be able to connect the dots. So fashion doesn't exist in isolation of the industry, and the industry cannot exist in isolation of fashion. They have to work hand in hand. So you have to interact, collaborate, work with key players in the value chain. So not just designers, but you need to figure out what the textile manufacturers are doing. You need to figure out, what retailers are doing. You need to figure out what, the role people like yourselves are playing on the scene, and how best everyone can harness their strengths, come together, work together to build a commercially sustainable industry that when, generations from now, our great-grandchildren will remember the work we've done, and, be able to proudly say that all of this is here today because our parents decided to do things. Not because not because we don't have enough talent there. It's just because Lagos Fashion Week is slowly becoming a Pan-African platform, and we cannot restrict our talent, the talent discovery arm of Lagos Fashion Week to just designers from Nigeria. It's important to make it open, make it available to anyone who wants to apply. You don't have to be Nigerian. I think it's just something that makes me, it's just this thing in my head, so some people probably call it might be utopia, or this desire to see a perfectly formed or perfect industry where everything fits into place, and we suddenly have the whole ecosystem figured out, where the farmers feed into textile, the textile producers feed into, suppliers for sourcing, the garment manufacturers, everything just falls in place so that it can thrive. Because I know that if everything is functioning properly, it has the potential to be one of Africa's largest employers of labor. Not just employers of labor. If you think about Africa and you think about the population and the size, and think about how many people don't have jobs, and you think about the fact that there's one industry that has so many subsectors, that if everything is working effectively well, you can create lots of jobs from artisans, in Nigeria, for example, I recently discovered that we have a pool of about 500,000 cotton growers. Do you know what that means? 500,000 people that if their staff strength, and then you think about us. Think about how many people are on the team, but somehow, we get by. We have an incredible team, incredible people who work tirelessly behind the scenes that people don't see. They're so passionate, they're committed, sometimes quite a lot of them also have what they're doing as well. So it's not just about Lagos Fashion Week, and that's what makes it even beautiful. Because these are people as well who have projects, who have their own passion, but have bought into this vision, and we're all able to come together to make magic every year. So it's incredible to see that teamwork goes a long way, and it's not just teamwork. It's teamwork. It's people buying into the vision. It's people supporting each other, and we just keep going. And don't get me wrong, we don't always get it right. Some things fall through the cracks. We beat ourselves up about it, but pick yourself. Our young designer platform that no matter what, even if they were already designing, but to see that the platform has enhanced what they're doing, there's so many, there are quite a few of them, and to see them in the scene, so maybe from Orange Culture, who you're going to speak to, just to see where he's at and what he's doing, and so they're just like incredible people who in Berlin, and we just hit it off, and we've been in touch since then, and she would come for Lagos Fashion Week, and I kept saying, oh, I've never been to Nairobi, I have to come, and then finally last year, our headline sponsors, Heineken, and Heineken Nairobi, Heineken Kenya, where decided to collaborate on an event on a project for young designers. And I came and I just fell in love. And Diana keeps saying, you didn't really see much. What exactly did you fall in love with? And then I came back again this year on my own, sometime in March. And I fell in love a little bit more. And so when we decided to expand our Fashion Focus initiative, our Fashion Focus Talks initiative, which is basically a tool or a platform for engaging with creatives. How are you feeling? What do you do? Sometimes we feel that we're all alone. Excuse me. And then when you realize that you're not the only one, you listen to other people, you're not the only one, everyone is trying to figure it out, sometimes it demystifies the whole thing. It encourages you, it spurs you on to keep going. And we've been quite successful with doing it in Nigeria across different cities, that it was only natural that we take it outside Nigeria when we launched our fashion focus applications for when we made it Pan-African. And of course, Nairobi had to be number one. It just had to be. We're hoping to, by next year, include more cities, more African cities. Very important. More collaborations with more, creative people on the scene, where we can, and it's collaboration in every sense of the word. So it's a bit of brands from different parts of Africa, hopefully, that would come together in the city to talk about fashion. So today, it's mostly, we're Nigerians, we're talking to, so there's Orange Culture, I'll be on the panel, and then with Sunny, Diana, and James, which is quite interesting to have like a mix of people talking about different things, and then hopefully the idea would be to have a Pan-African panel, have people from different parts of different African countries, creatives, come talk to an audience filled with Pan-African creative people as well, and connecting and sharing our stories so that people don't have to tell our stories for us. The most important thing is for us to think inter-African trade is the future. Together, we're a continent with almost 2 billion people. Let's think about it. That's a huge market. So Nigeria can no longer exist in isolation of Kenya, neither can Ghana or South Africa. So the minute we start to look at it as, I know, we're made up of 54 countries, right? But that doesn't mean that you cannot trade with each other. So yes, we might be working tirelessly to get brands into New York, Paris, London, Milan, but we cannot ignore our home market, which is our base, and how can we expand into that, So by introducing the idea of creatives working together, making it Pan-African, then it'll make it easy. There could be something as simple as, instead of sourcing my fabrics or my zips from here, let me source it from here. Oh, okay, they don't make you well. Have I given feedback to the people producing? Like, guys, it's not, before you condemn and stop working with them completely. So how do we all, give back? So there's a brand called Zashadu who produces bags in Nigeria. And she understands that, sourcing leather might be a problem, but she's been able to create a collection of bags from something that's a problem. Like, almost every bag you own might be, unique to you because they're made invariably from scraps of leather that's imported back into Nigeria, you know. So that in itself tells a compelling story that's engaging enough that would create an emotional connection between the person who's buying and the brand they're looking at. So, of course they're expensive. They're really expensive. You can't compete with China. You can't. You can't compete with China. In my country, you can't compete with second-hand goods who come back into the country. You can't compete with those prices. So definitely, I know some brands are overpriced, but the cost of producing in Africa is not exactly cheap. So that's why I'm saying it has to be a paradigm shift. So you might pay more for what you're getting. But at the end of the day, when you realize that that money is staying within your country or within the continent, that should be empowering, that should be gratifying, that should satisfy you. And I'm not saying you should compromise on quality. So I'm saying I'm expecting that when you're making that buying or that buying decision, clearly we're talking about something that's giving you value for money that would last. So I'm not saying buy an inferior made product that's made in Africa just because you want to support African, but I'm saying it's possible to buy African, well-made African, produced, but it would be more expensive than what's coming in from out of Nigeria, but then you would be making a conscious decision to support Africa because it was made here, by us, for us, to empower community, to empower artisans, craftsmen, people within the value chain. So that's the story, that's our power, that's what we need to focus on. I think for me, you know, sustainability is a word that's constantly just bandied around sometimes, and people probably don't know. I think for most African brands who, whether or not we like it, still empower their people socioeconomically. So either socially or through, you know, somehow are still contributing to that discussion, even though we don't put it out there. You know what I mean? So there's some people who produce their collections from a community of women or a community of, you know, people who worked on a craft that's been passed down from generation to generation, but they probably don't really talk about it. There are people, you know, who already, you know, pay decent wages to their staff, who, you know, have all the benefits in place. You only work certain hours, you treat you know, but you don't really talk about it. You don't let us know who made my, you know, you're not a part of that movement, you don't believe in it, or you don't put it out there. There's some people who consciously think about the sort of dyes that, you know, they use in making their clothes, you know, but I get it. I think it's because we're so caught up in our daily everything. I mean, if you come from Nigeria, for example, you're powering your own gen, you know, that you forget, you forget that you're part of that. You forget that, you know, your carbon footprint in producing your collection wasn't really that much because you probably, you know, took a drive or you know, went somewhere to source the fabric, and you forget the process. But I think if we start a conversation around it, and, you know, people become aware that, oh, wait a minute, I think to an extent my brand is already, you know, sustainably conscious. I just don't put it out there, you know. So I think it's just something for us to be a bit more aware of, and to make sure that the next generation are even more conscious about it, to reduce our carbon footprint, to contribute to making, you know, social decisions that are, you know, sustainable, or making economic decisions that are sustainable, that empower not just the industry as you see it, but can make sure there's an industry that's left for generations to come if we make the right decisions. So if we think about, you know, recycling and upcycling, what are we actually doing? You know, do we throw away scraps, you know, in factories, or are we making dolls and making soft toys out of them? Are we making sure everything that you know, that's left over is actually going into something else and giving it new life? It's just all of that. And you know that our grandparents had that in them, that nothing goes to waste. You know we lived on that or thrived on that, that, you know, sometimes you pass on your clothes to your sisters so it doesn't just go down the bin. You know that cousins or, you know, people that you know that naturally Africans have that story, but it's not something that's really out there. So, but if we start to all think about it and make those conscious decisions to talk about it so that the people coming behind us almost done, it's a wrap, and then, you know, the big break comes and then you realize there's even more work, and then there's, yeah, that's how it feels. So sometimes it's just like, maybe that's a good time to stop and just stop and stop. So some of my favorite cities in the world are, of course, Lagos, Nairobi, Cape Town, Marrakesh. I like London because it feels familiar. I like Mougins in France. I hope I'm pronouncing it properly. Marbella. I'd love to go to, I need to travel far east. I'd love to go to India. I want to go to Tokyo, you know, just do some really, I want to go to Australia. That's far, I know. But yeah, those would be, I mean, they're top of my list of where I'd love to go next. Thailand as well. Somewhere a bit idyllic, so be like, maybe like on some beautiful island somewhere that doesn't look like you're in Africa. That when you know, stand, so it's got to be so scenic, you know, surrounded by nature. So if you tell me where that is, then we will go there. You know, so it feels like a vacation for everyone. So we all converge in this place that's got amazing beach like you just described. But then again, you can go for a long walk and you're surrounded by greenery and nature and all of that. Yeah, if we can come up with a country that best, and that's a lot of places, you know, but I'm talking about clean white beaches with blue ocean. Yeah, we'll be there. I'm a sleeper and I'm a foodie. Meaning I thrive on food and sleep. Meaning if I'm sleep deprived, I'm the grumpiest cat in the room. I won't be able to function. So when people ask my husband, oh, because I don't go out much, where is she? And like, she's home. And people probably think I'm doing something fun. But really I'm either sleeping or working. So I'm that girl who loves her sleep and really loves her sleep. I like reading, I guess. And of course hanging out with my girls because they're still here and they're with us. And you know how it is, all of a sudden they just go. So I'm trying to enjoy and savor every moment till they're like, oh mama, see you later. So yeah, I think that's what I do for fun. I'm very, 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 I come from a large family as well, and my husband comes from a large family. So between all of us, between both families, we're occupied. And sometimes it's possible not to even, you know, interact with, know what's happening outside beyond that circle. So that's me.